What's up, Michigan fans? Welcome to another episode of the Believe in Michigan podcast. I am Brandon Brown, joined as always by Grant Perry. And Grant, before we get into our visit weekend preview, this is Victor's weekend for Michigan football. They're hosting another really, really nice slate of prospects, including a bunch of commits, really starting today, heading into the weekend. You and I had a pretty cool moment today. We're each doing our thing in different parts of the state. And a buddy of mine hits me up with a text and says, dude, I'm out to dinner right now with my family, and I look up at the TV, and who do I see? Your ugly mug on the screen. And me and you somehow have been put on the FanDuel channel on TV through Believe. I didn't think it was going to happen until next week. They did kind of give us a heads up. And then I think not long after that, you got a text from somebody that you know too, in Frankenmuth, I think you said it was. And then I turn around and I'm at an event today in Ann Arbor at the Travis Point Golf Course, the Golf on Main put on by Charles Woodson, for CS Mott, this whole big event that they do every year. Really, really cool. We'll get into that a little bit later. But I walk into the clubhouse and there we are again. It was like all this stuff was just like coming at me at one time. I didn't know we were going to be on TV today, but you've been on TV a little bit in the past. I think the most TV screen time I ever got was at Harbaugh's press conference. I just stood up and there was my face in the way. I wasn't being featured or anything like that. But no, I mean, it was cool to see. It's cool for both of. I mean, this is only show number 5. I guess that means we're doing okay. I feel good about it. I sent you the screenshot. I'm like, bro, this is really cool. And yeah, and then you got something not too long after that from someone that you know too. So I'm pretty excited about it.
Yeah, dude, we're trending in the right direction. We're getting a little traffic. Some people are noticing, and we're popping up on some TV screens. That's not half bad. Yeah, but like you said, my mom hit me up, and she's like, Grant, I got a friend out in Frankenmuth that's seeing you on TV. Like, what's going on? And I hadn't told her yet. Like, it was relatively very recent news that you texted me about, hey, we're going to possibly slide under the Big Ten banner with FanDuel Sports TV. And I was like, oh snap! They got to it. They kept their word. So that's cool to see. And let's keep building this thing, man.
Yeah, very cool. And I guess it'll be on. I don't know if anybody will catch this in time for this, but it's going to be on. It's going to air again tomorrow at 10 a.m. I don't even think I told you that yet, but I let my parents know and some of my aunts and uncles and stuff like that. And then next week, I think at various times you can catch Grant and I, as he said, under the Big Ten banner on the FanDuel Sports channel. If you've got that in your package, check it out. So that's real cool. That's a cool thing. You see your own face on a TV screen. It's pretty neat. I'm not going to lie. So happy about that and excited to keep moving forward with this whole deal. But as I said, the recruiting weekends are coming to a close actually at the end of this month. Right now, this is the last available weekend for official visits for the summertime. July, we hit a dead period. And August is when the season kicks off. Then, of course, during the season, prospects can come back to campus for game visits and official visits and things like that. But Michigan did have a pretty impressive slate. I believe they were hosting about 6 different commits and several 4-star recruits and 1 5-star recruit that we're going to focus on. And Grant, it happens to be in your wheelhouse again. It is a wide receiver. It is 5-star Calvin Russell out of Miami, Florida. So again, down in a footprint where it's hard to go get a kid from, but Michigan doing a good job with him. What can you tell us about young Mr. Russell?
Well, Mr. Russell is on campus this weekend for Victor's weekend, as we know. 6'5", 195-pound big body receiver, but plays fast, but also physical with that size. I really like his game because he is a playmaker. He gets open in the open field and then takes the ball to the crib. He's not getting tackled like some of these bigger receivers, a little bit slower. He's taking it to the house, runs solid routes, gets in and out of his breaks. And he's got a little bit of a swagger, you can tell on tape. When he's fired up, he'll let you know whether that's your teammate, his teammate, or the opposing team. And it's funny, for both of these guys that we're going to talk about, Calvin Russell and Carter Meadows, we'll get to him in a second. For Calvin Russell, I'm watching the tape and I'm looking, and 24/7 Sports, they do their, hey, this guy reminds us of Chase or yada, 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 right? They give their NFL comparison to these kids. And I'm sitting there watching, and I'm like, man, this kid looks like T. Higgins, like the way he moves, the way he catches the ball. And then I scroll down, and the 24/7 reporter has T. Higgins in there. So I can't take credit for it, but I'm like, I'm right there. I'm on it. I'm seeing it how he's seeing it. So, they got him as a T. Higgins esque. So big body, can play football, and it'd be a great pickup if the Wolverines come through and snag him.
No doubt. Listed as by 24/7 Sports, the number 3 wide receiver in the entire country. So big, tall, talented kid. And we've talked about this, like, the next big target for a Bryce Underwood. I mean, we all expect Bryce Underwood to be the guy this year as a true freshman. I don't know if we know who his go-to guy, his number one, go get the ball, make a play for us guy is right now. We'll see. But yeah, Calvin Russell, certainly the body type and the hype that can be that kind of guy, potentially moving forward. You mentioned Carter Meadows, edge rusher out of Gonzaga High School in Washington, D.C., powerhouse program there. Michigan has recruited that program before, as have a lot of big-time programs. Listed at 6'6", 225 pounds, number 34 player in the entire country. Michigan seems to be doing a pretty good job with him as well.
Yeah, another candidate that's up there in the rankings, top 100 kid. He's not as far south as Calvin. He's only down there in Washington. But this kid, the frame, when you watch the tape, you're like, man, and I'm not a strength coach, and I've never had aspirations to be one. But when you see a kid like this, you want to just get him in that weight room and just mold him to whatever you want, whether it's that edge linebacker that can stand up and cover or put his hand down in the dirt and rush. And that kid brings it. And partly because he's a multi-sport athlete. I noticed on 24/7, he holds a hoops offer from American University. So, and basketball is one of the tougher sports to get offered in. So if you're getting offered in basketball and football, you got a pretty bright future ahead. So another, cliche saying, if Michigan can swing through and somehow land this guy, that'd be pretty impressive, especially with the duo interior D lineman that we've already signed so far, and Mikhail Blade and Alistair Vallejo.
And last but not least, in terms of a little bit of not a deep dive, but going, you hosting 20 guys this weekend or whatever it is. We're not gonna jump into every single one of them, but this one's interesting. We were kind of laughing before we started recording. Malachi Lee. I'm not going to try the high school name. He's from Honolulu, Hawaii. Yeah, I'll let you give that one a shot, Grant. But 6'6", 318 pounds, and when you look at his profile picture, he looks like Penei Sewell. He just looks like him. His face looks like him. He's already damn near the same size as him as a junior in high school, which is obviously pretty impressive. But another big-time prospect, considered the number 181 player in the whole country, the number 14 tackle. And he's got Michigan listed as warm on his list as well with 3 others. But going out to Hawaii, where Michigan has had a little bit of success, most recently Roman Wilson, right? But not somewhere that Michigan gets a ton of players from, but be good to get a kid like this.
Yes, it would. And funny you bring up Roman Wilson. Back when I was coaching, he came on his official visit when I was there, and I like to joke with him and say, hey, I was part of the reason you came to Michigan, so give me some credit for those championships and those Big Ten titles you got under your belt.
Heck yeah.
But no, Malachi Lee, first thing, like you said, that stands out, you look at the kid, and I thought I was looking at Penei Sewell. And most of the time when Grant Newsome, 6'6", 250, however much he weighs nowadays, is standing next to a recruit, you're like, okay, this guy used to play football. But you think when you see this picture, you're like, oh, well, who's the guy with Malachi Lee? Malachi Lee is kind of towering and over Grant there. But again, another prospect that if somehow we can, wrap our arms around him and bring him in. I know Steve Lorenz on 24/7 has him as a prediction for Crystal Ball. We'll see how that goes. But just a top 100 tackle, 6'6", 318 pounds out of Hawaii. So he's got that brute strength. Those guys from Hawaii are just they got a little bit different strength than most dudes. So would love to see him in that maize and blue.
Those Polynesian dudes are just built a little different, man. They really are. To this day, over my years of covering recruiting, shook a lot of hands. Some big dudes, some smaller, speedy guys. To this day, the most impressive handshake I have ever received, I know he didn't finish his career at Michigan, was Chuck Filiunga. Oh. That dude had some meat hook hands. I felt like I needed to bear hug his hand. Just a powerful built kid. And Malachi Lee, similarly built. You're talking 320 pounds already as, like I said, a rising senior. That's he's eating good. He's eating good out there on the island. And Michigan could certainly put him to use. There's no doubt about it.
I'll give you a funny Chuck Filiaga story.
Here we go. This what we sign up for.
Yeah. So I think it was my junior, senior year. I was living with a couple linemen. Nolan Ulizio, one of them. Tyrone Wheatley, he was still a tight end, but he should have been flirting with O-line at that point. So you can throw him in that mix. And they were having some O-linemen over for, just to hang out and have a good time one afternoon. And I'm not in Ann Arbor. I'm back home in Royal Oak, Southfield area. And I get a text that Chuck is over. And like you said, I mean, Chuck's strong and the Polynesians and I'm not sure if Chuck's Polynesian, but the people there, they go full speed and they do everything at one speed. And he was ready to go full speed for a pool party indoors in the house. He had inflatable pool ready to go. And my room was in the basement. And I'm thinking, okay, 6 linemen get into a little inflated pool. This thing's going to overflow and drain my basement.
Yeah.
So I quickly drove from Royal Oak and shut down that idea. But that's just a little sidebar there on Chuck. But yeah.
I mean, dude, Chuck by himself might have overflowed the pool. I mean, he's a big dude.
Seriously.
Dude. And you named a couple other big dudes, obviously. But yeah, looking at Malachi Lee again, cut from that kind of cloth. Big, solid, stout-looking kid, very strong. And a Final Four of Michigan, Georgia, Texas, Bama. I mean, that's the cream of the crop when you talk about offensive line. And Michigan in really good shape. He's listed at 6'7", 320 on that tweet, by the way. So wherever he's at, somewhere in that range, we're talking a big, strong kid. And with a prediction from 24/7 that he may end up in Michigan's class, that would be a very good thing. So just kind of rounding out the the visitor list this weekend. You did have quarterback commit Brady Smeagol, tight end Matt Ludwig, cornerback Brody Jennings, tight end Mason Bonner, wide receiver Jalen Pyle, and edge rusher Tariq Boney. And then a couple other nice, like I said, a lot of 4-star prospects visiting Michigan this weekend for Victor's weekend. And we'll see if that turns into any commits. We talked about it recently. The visits have gone well. I mean, you got a couple commits that have come out of it. I know we talked about a long snapper recently. Michigan also recently picked up a kicker. Again, we assume that these guys are preferred walk-ons, but Micah Drescher, 6'2", 190-pounder from Hinsdale, Illinois, picked Michigan over Northwestern. So, those aren't always the positions that necessarily move the needle when you're talking about the recruiting trail, but you got to have them. I mean, they can be as important as anybody on the entire team when you're in. You did a really good job, I think, last time about breaking down kind of the battery that is the long snapper, the holder, the kicker, and how those guys can be an integral part of your team. And really kind of for a while there, it kind of turned into like this thing at Michigan, like the special teams unit. Moore's the whole like video anyway. These guys play a big part, even though, like I said, it might not move the needle on the recruiting trail. But a long snapper and a kicker to go along with the 2 defensive line commits over the last week and a half for Michigan. Grant, I wanted to I'm trying to remember when you were being recruited, and it was later in the process for you, and we already outlined that in the first episode. Did you ever come on any of the real big visit weekends for Michigan, or was it different for you because you didn't have the offer yet and you were committed to Northwestern a little? Like, how was that for you? I'm sure you probably knew about it being an in-state kid, but yeah, what was that like back then?
Yeah, so it was interesting. I'll paint a picture for you. So Malzone, my quarterback at the time, Alex Malzone, was early enrolling at the time. So he was already on campus in that, that summer, that spring, whatever the time frame is. And I'm still back at school and at Brother Rice, but, committed to Northwestern, but still trying to get that Michigan offer, still trying to stay in their ear, stay near campus. And, we kind of had to make it seem like I was going to visit Alex because I'm committed to Northwestern. They had a don't visit policy. So I was taking a lot of trips to visit Alex. And
that worked.
Whether I was directly invited to these barbecues or these hangouts, I was definitely, making my face and name appear and letting the coaches know that, hey, I'm still interested. And eventually it worked out. There was, I remember we used to have a huge barbecue in the big house. That was our big thing where they bring in carnival games and they cook out in the big house and have, all their major guys there. And, And even when you go out, when you're a player, that's something that usually you come back to and help out and come and see the guys that are coming in and introduce yourself to the recruits and all that good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So whether or not I was invited early on in the process or not, I was finding my way to Ann Arbor.
There you go. Yeah, barbecue at the Big House. That's right. That was a major event. I mean, dude, upward of probably 30, 40 prospects, 50 kids sometimes, and their families and whoever else. And I know they did a lot of stuff right there on the field inside the stadium, which was always a pretty cool thing. And so, yeah, that's right. So that's, shifted a little bit, I guess, now with all the different visits happening over the summer. Because I believe that was unofficial visits then, right? That wasn't official visits.
Yeah, I never had an official to Michigan. No.
Okay. Mm-hmm. That's what I thought. So that's changed a little bit over the last handful of years with the summer officials really starting in the spring and then wrapping up in June. And then obviously they'll kind of get back to the traditional calendar here when the football season rolls around. So yeah, just pretty interesting stuff when you look at how things are done now. It's ever changing. We talked about it before. Recruiting is starting earlier and earlier. 7th and 8th graders getting offers and coming to camps and trying to show out for coaches. And it's just it's an ever evolving type of thing. But Michigan has been doing well with it for a really long time. Michigan's always recruited very well. And again, when you've got the resources and the indoor weight facility and the multiple indoor fields, and then by the way, the Big House, it all plays pretty well, especially in a Michigan Ann Arbor summer.
Yeah, and I mean, dude, I went back to Ann Arbor in the spring prior to the spring game, and it had been some time since I'd been back, like in the facility, like I'd been to games and whatnot, but just hadn't been in the facility since the new renovations took place. And I couldn't even believe where I was at, man. Like you walk into Schembechler Hall, you usually check in at the front desk, you go through the door, and then you go down the hallway, and then usually that first door that you see, that room that you can enter during my time was the freshman locker room, which Coach Harbaugh had freshman locker room and then the varsity locker room. You spent 1 year in the freshman, then you moved up. But that thing gutted, bowling alleys, driving ranges, dartboards,
basketball court.
I mean, that's upstairs.
Yeah, that's the second level, right? Yeah,
I had that during when I was coaching, so that was a great. We'd all get in there, and all the coaches we'd play. I think it was sevens or something. They were, it was like knockout. First one to miss, you're out of that round, and we'd all go, and the coaches all get real intense and competitive during that.
Yeah, good stuff, man. Yeah, I mean it's an arms race. Every, this school does this, well, the next school does this, and the next school does that. And Michigan's, they're right there, part of it. I believe maybe still touting the largest weight room in the country, square footage wise. I know they were maybe like right there with Alabama. Whatever. Anyway, it's an incredible facility all the way around, like I said, from the multiple indoor fields to the weight room itself, to the stadium. There's a reason why, you want to get kids in there, like we talked about last episode, without a game to worry about. Get them in there, show off all the bells and whistles, spend time with them, let them enjoy it. A little bit more low key, but certainly effective as they have turned it into some commitments here recently. So we'll see what comes out of this weekend. When we come back on Monday, we'll kind of take a look at it. Maybe somebody will have pulled the trigger by then. And yeah, we'll talk about that more when the next episode rolls around. We'll finish up with this. We're approaching 20 minutes now. I talked about it a little bit already today. I was in Ann Arbor today at Travis Point Golf Course for the Golf on Main Charles Woodson event for the CS Mott Children's Hospital. Really cool event. And Grant, I got to be honest with you, man. I've been doing this for 10 plus years now. I've never really been like the fanboy type. Like, I don't be like, oh, look who, I'm not gonna lie. Seeing Tom Brady and Michael Jordan and Derek Jeter like less than 10 feet away, you kind of can't help it. A little, like, those are just icons of global icons. But today I got a chance to sit down. I was on the radio with Jamie Morris and WTKA, and I got a chance to sit down with, he's in the discussion as one of my favorite Michigan players of all time, Tyrone Wheatley. I mean, one of the most explosive, fun to watch running backs ever. Just so big, so fast, such a talent. Sat down with Sean Crable. Grant, I don't know if you've ever been up next to Sean Crable in person. Like, if you could make a freaky athlete football player in a lab, like, that's the dude. Like 6'5", 240. He looks like he could still play today. I honestly, I was looking at his stats because I didn't really remember what he did once he left Michigan. Only played in the league for a couple of years. blows my mind that he didn't stick because he just looks like he was built to play football and like that's it. But he was real cool to talk to. Brandon Graham stopped by and sat down. That's real cool because he's about my age, a couple years younger. Obviously, just hung it up in Philadelphia. Played all 15 years there.
Doesn't that blow your mind that Brandon Graham and you guys are the same age and he's just now finishing football?
Yes, I mean he's 38. He's got a couple years on me, but not much. Just yoked, dude. Just like he could just pick up everything we were sitting on and throw it out onto the golf course. But super cool to talk to him. I'm sure everybody out there has seen the segments of Brandon Graham mic'd up before. I mean, the dude's personality is out of this world. I mean, just a great dude to talk to. And then obviously Charles Woodson was there. We didn't get a chance to sit down with him. He was obviously busy running around doing stuff. Saw Brian Greasy, Jeff Backus. I mean, a lot of big names that I kind of grew up watching and admiring from afar. And it was a really cool experience. I mean, I kind of pinch myself every day when I get to do stuff like that. But it got me thinking, knowing that we were going to record later. Now, I know you grew up a Michigan fan. You wanted the Michigan offer badly, but you ended up playing there. I mean, you actually got to don the winged helmet and run out of the tunnel and do all the scored a touchdown in the big house. Like you did all that. But is there still a part of you that's just a fan of Michigan and like you think back to? So I was curious, like, who are your favorite Michigan players coming up? Like, who did you love? And if you bumped into him even today, you'd be like, that's my guy, man. Like, I love watching him. Like, I can't believe I don't know if it probably doesn't go that way with you. That's what I'm saying. Like, I can't believe I'm talking to so-and-so. Like, you did it too. But I find that part of it interesting because at one point you were just a fan like the rest of us.
Yeah, no, I mean, and it's funny because the name you brought up was Sean Crable, and that hits home because I mean that was one of the first players that I got an autograph from, like in person.
Wow.
Him, Lamar Woodley, Prescott Burgess, all those guys.
Looking player, man.
Look,
yeah.
I mean, I literally was afraid. My dad's like, "Come on."
Exactly.
They're not gonna hurt you. But I literally, I didn't talk. I was like, just handing them my little magazine, like, please sign.
Yeah.
And went about my way and just left starstruck. I remember my dad somehow finagled us down on the field like with a minute left of that Penn State game back in 2005.
I know where you're going with this one.
Manningham caught that touchdown winner versus Penn State in the end zone from Chad Henne. That was a pretty special moment. Guys like that, Mario Manningham, Jason Avant, Grant Mason comes to mind, particularly because his name was Grant. So I was always like, I can do it too. Like, yeah, I can do it too. Trent Morgan, saw him when I was back in Ann Arbor visiting during the spring. And Larry Fitzgerald was also there. That was a pretty cool guy to meet at Michigan, but his son was visiting that weekend. But just guys like that in that era, that 05, 06 era, that's where it resonates for me.
Yeah, I mean, I was 13 when Michigan won the title in '97. So Woodson is kind of like a given. Like he's just on another level. Even, like I said, I saw him from afar today and it's just like, God, that's Charles Woodson, man. Like maybe the best
myth, like
yeah, for real. Like it's almost like he's in that same conversation, I guess, as a Brady, as a Jordan, as a Jeter. Like anywhere he goes, people are going to know who he is. Winning the Heisman at Michigan, and then, I mean, dude, he's in the discussion as the best DB to ever do it in the pros too. I mean, he's in that conversation, so he's kind of on another level. So if anybody were to ask me, like, who's your favorite Michigan player growing up as a kid, it's probably Woodson. But Tyrone Wheatley, man, there was something about him, wearing number 6 back when single digits weren't really like what they are now. And he just was so big. And so like when you put his highlights on, even now, you're like, how did that dude move like that at that size? He was a track star at Michigan or at Michigan, but at Michigan in high school, setting all these records. And now he's the head coach at Wayne State, which is pretty cool. He's back in his home area. He's entering his 3rd season. We talked about that with him today on the radio. And so that was really neat to just sit down and talk to him. And funny story, oddly enough, my great grandmother was like the front office worker at his high school. And he immediately remembered her when I dropped her name today. I texted my uncle real quick. I'm like, my uncle has a photo of my great grandma and Tyrone when he was just starting out at Michigan, like they're hugging or whatever, like this little old Polaroid. And it's like this, my uncle's like prized possession. Like he loves that. He loves that he's got this picture of his grandma with Tyrone Wheatley, and he remembered her immediately. So it was just cool, man. It was a cool day to be out there. The weather finally let up. I know the morning show guys got dumped on a little bit, but it was nice and dry for us. And I mean, shit, I'm on there every day with another legend in Jamie Morris. I mean, he was a little before my time, but like that dude he's royalty in Ann Arbor.
Mhm.
He can go anywhere he wants, and people know who he is. And I didn't know this until I started working with him, Grant, but he still to this day holds the record in the NFL for the most carries in a game. Jamie Morris.
Does he really?
Yes, he does. He doesn't ever talk about stuff like that, but I mean,
how many carries did he have?
I think it was like 46 or 48 or something like that. In an NFL game, you don't, college, I like Mike Hart had some crazy carried games, and
yeah,
you saw that a little more in college. When you get a bell cow running back who was just better than everybody, you just give it to him 40 times. But in the pros, you don't really see that. You definitely don't see it anymore.
Right. You got your first down back, your second down back, your third down back. Let me ask you this. What now for the younger generation, give me a comparison. Who does Tyrone Wheatley, who reminds you? I know it's, probably few and far between, but give me a comparison that's playing today or it's played recently.
Man, I mean, the first thought was to go to Derrick Henry because but he's bigger. He's quite a bit bigger than even Tyrone Wheatley was, because he's not super tall. I mean, he's tall for a running back, but he's not, I mean, I think Derrick Henry is probably listed at 6'5", I think, right? And Wheatley's maybe 6'1". He's not quite that tall. 45 carries, by the way, for Jamie Morris in the NFL. 45.
Jesus. That's crazy.
Still stands to this day. I would bet probably now the way the game is played probably will never be broken. I don't think.
Yeah.
But anyway, man, that's a really good question. I really like doing the NFL comp thing too. Whenever I used to cover recruiting, I used to love watching film real close and like, who's this guy move like? Who does he look like? And I'd just, I'd grab a random guy from the NFL, put their tape next to each other. So I do like doing that. But I mean, that's kind of the point with Wheatley is like being that big and that bulky, but again, the bulk comes from the shoulder pads being this big.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
Yeah.
He was different, man. He was just different. And you look at him now, he still just looks so put together, dude. He still looks like he could get out there and give you 10 carries if you needed him. But
yeah,
I think he's in his early 50s now. But Derrick Henry was the first thought because he's way faster than he should be at that size. But they didn't really run the same way. Wheatley was like a one cut. I wouldn't call him a power back because he didn't even almost get touched.
Yeah, he just run away from you. But he's kind of like a chameleon. You think he's gonna run through you, but he's really running by you.
He'd erase an angle or he'd give one foot in the ground and it was over and you couldn't get a hand on him. I mean, he was much more sudden than Henry. I mean, Henry certainly has breakaway speed. I mean, he's got a 99-yard touchdown under his belt, but he threw about 8 dudes out of the way on the way to the end zone on that run. So different styles a little bit. That's a good question. I would like to maybe do a little bit more homework and look that up to see who that might be. But that's kind of the point. Nobody jumps directly to mind because he was different, man. Running that fast, that big was just not something you saw all the time. And if you've never done it, for any Michigan fans out there, just go to YouTube and put in Tyrone Wheatley Michigan highlights. It is a fun watch. Like I said, I don't try to be a fanboy. I'm not ever going to do the autograph thing, but rubbing elbows with Tyrone Wheatley and Brandon Graham and Sean Crable today was really cool. And we got a chance to talk to Channing Goodwin as well, a rising sophomore receiver. Who knows what his role could look like this year? He played in 4 or 5 games last year as a true freshman, mostly on special teams. But as we talked about, whoever the quarterback is, likely Bryce Underwood, is going to need to look for some targets because most of the guys who were catching passes last year are not here anymore. So that's going to be a really interesting thing. I just ended up having a really good day out there today, and I started thinking about that immediately. Like, I wonder who Grant kind of really looked up to. I know you mentioned Mario Manningham. So then you joined the fraternity though. Then you're one of them. Do you see him? I know you said at one point you even you shot a message to Charles Woodson and he responded. Like, that's crazy, dude. Like, these are legends, or legends to you in some senses, at least with the guys you really grew up admiring. Like, do you feel now you're in your late 20s, your playing days at Michigan are behind you a little bit? Do you feel like I'm one of those guys? Like, I'm on that level. Like, what's that like?
Yeah, I mean, obviously not the Charles Woodson level, or the guys that played in the league,
stats or accomplishments, but you played it.
Yeah, man, I got there. I did it literally. Like, I think back and getting to Michigan and playing football there was like the only driving force I had. Like in high school, it was like everything evolved around that, and when I committed to Northwestern, I was happy. I was ready to go. And it almost was like I was ready to turn the switch and say, you know what, F you, Michigan. Like I'm gonna show you what you're missing.
Mm-hmm.
But things worked out, and being able to be a part of this awesome fraternity, this group of guys, it really extends so far, and you find new connections everywhere you look. You find somebody that played 20 years before you, or you find someone that's ahead in there, in a couple of years or a year or so, and it's just something to be able to bond over and talk about. And there's small things, like Johnny Gray's, like, those are a type of, undergarment that we used to get handed out that you go talk to a bunch of the old guys and they'll be like, yeah, oh yeah. Or the Twin City socks.
Mm-hmm.
So there's little things like that you pick up on and then you kind of just share with each other along the way and have a good laugh about when you do reconnect.
I fill a civilian in. What's the Johnny Grays? I know about the socks. I do know about the socks, but Johnny Grays is new to me. What's that about? I don't know what that is.
Yeah, so that it's honestly, it's literally just imagine like a pair of shorts with no pockets, very loose like material, essentially underwear, but like they were the length of shorts. And my mind is blanking right now. Give me a second. John Falk. I don't know why I'm missing that name.
Legendary
John Falk. John, I'm sorry that I blanked on your name there, but and he would always hand them out, and he's been around forever. So I think it kind of graduated to his, Johnny Grays, John Falk. So if you had a pair of Johnny Grays and your Twin City socks, you're ready to go.
That's really cool. That's really cool. See, there you go. I didn't know about the Johnny Grays. I had heard about the socks before. I think Harbaugh might have said something about the socks at one point, and that's kind of when that took off a little bit. But there you go, man. That's that good stuff. That's that good stuff right there. And like you said, we sat down with Channing Goodwin for a minute today. His father played at Michigan. Jamie knew. I think Jamie's probably older than his dad, but Jamie knew of his dad. He's like, oh, I got it, and like the handshake changed right in that moment. It was kind of like, oh, good to meet you. How are you? And then they're like, oh, I know your dad. Your dad played here. You're okay, cool. Like it just instantly turned into like this connection that they didn't even know they had, but it was there. And that's you're 100% right. I mean, I get to sniff like that a little bit just because I've been around and I've met some people and I know some people, but being able to be a part of it and having wore that helmet, man, I know that's a special thing. And you saw that today at the golf outing. Just guys from all different eras, just laughing and having a good time, and hitting that stupid little white ball all over the place. And Brandon Graham's team actually ended up winning. I know. He said they didn't use a lot of his shots, but he was out there, and it was just a cool day. It was a cool day. Like I said, I really was hoping Woodson would sit down and talk with us, but he's a pretty busy dude, as you might know. But it was still a fun time. So yeah, had a good time out there, and yeah, hopefully I get to go back to do that again. So we're at 32 minutes, Grant. We said we were going to do a real short show. Here we are. Grant, are you ready? Are you ready for the player pop-up?
Yeah, let's do it.
We are Andrew Stuber days.
Hey, let's go, Stubes. Okay.
We are Andrew Stuber days away from Michigan's opening game, August 30th. Andrew Stuber, Connecticut's finest.
Yep. Good dude. He used to hate having that Connecticut, that East Coast. He used to like try to get it away from his name. I'm tough. Like I'm not from Connecticut. Like that was his motto, and we always used to get hard from him. But
and I don't want to put all his business out in the streets, but not only was he from Connecticut, he was from a nice part of Connecticut. I went up there, I did a little New England trip at that the year that what year was he? He was after you, but not a lot.
Yeah, like maybe 2 or 3 years after me.
2018, maybe somewhere. Yeah. That class, for whatever reason, had a lot of dudes from New England. So I went up there and I did a trip. I saw Stuber. I saw Tariq Black. I saw Ben Mason. I saw there was 5 or 6 guys up there in Connecticut. I went through New Jersey, saw a bunch of Jersey dudes. That was when New Jersey was a big part of Michigan's pipeline too. So shout out to Andrew Stuber, man. That's a big rascal right there. I remember when I saw him in high school, I was like, golly, this dude's big.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, big old boy, like a diving board chest, just like, oh.
He was listed at 6'8", if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, big boy.
Dude, man.
Good dude, too.
Yeah, really good dude. Had a really good time talking with him and his coach. I remember that very clearly. Just had a good time. They invited me right in. to their school, and I sat down with them, and that was the first time meeting them in person. So, yeah, it's always cool to reminisce about stuff like that. He's Grant Perry. I'm Brandon Brown. We'll be back on Monday. Again, if you're out there and you're bored, flip on FanDuel, the FanDuel Sports Network. You might see me and Grant on TV. That's a pretty cool thing. So we'll be back to do it again on Monday.